Hello, and welcome to our training video on all things dog kennels. This video should give you tips and tricks on how to open the dog kennels, enter and exit, ideally without the dog also escaping, and why the dog kennel should be locked at all times. So, let's get started. We're going to start with opening kennels, and specifically the kennels in the DE room. The DE room is the oldest adoption room at the center, and it shows. To unlock and enter a DE kennel, use the key on the back of your volunteer badge to unlock and remove the lock. You can simply hang it off to the side. Then, use your thumb to move the stopper hanging over the latch. Once the stopper is out of the way, you can use your index finger to lift the latch and pull the kennel door towards you. Upon shutting, the latch bar should slide up, push the stopper out of the way, and lock into place without any manipulation from you. To leave, you'll repeat from inside the kennel. Remember to always lock the door behind you by placing the lock through the hole at the center of the stopper, attaching it to the sidebar so it can't move. Please keep in mind that the DE adoption room has a trip hazard, a bar running across the bottom of all kennel doors. While it might be noticeable when entering a kennel, the hazard comes when attempting to back out of a kennel while also trying to prevent a dog from escaping. Thankfully, the DE adoption room is the last to be used due to its age and setup. By comparison, the kennels in our other dog adoption rooms, DA, DB, DC, and DD, are newer, brighter, and simply better for our dogs. Typically, each dog has 2 kennels connected by a guillotine door, which we'll cover in a later slide. One side is their living room side, with a bed and their food and water. The other is their potty side, so they have the option to go to the bathroom, if needed, and to be able to do so away from their eating and sleeping space. When unlocking and entering a kennel in the DA, DB, DC, or DD adoption rooms, you'll use the key on the back of your volunteer badge to unlock the lock. Just like in the DE adoption room, you'll hang the lock off to the side of the kennel. Then, push the hanging piece of metal in the middle of the bracket up to open the latch. When shutting the door behind you, the hanging piece should slide up and allow the latch to lock into place without any manipulation from you. To leave, you'll repeat from the inside of the kennel. Always make sure to lock the kennel behind you by placing the lock through the hole in the bottom of the bracket. Please keep in mind that the DA and DD adoption rooms have their own trip hazards. The food and water dishes are, for some reason, housed in the kennel door. This can be problematic when attempting to get in and out of those kennels. Thankfully, this is just on the living room side of the kennel, so it might be better to enter or exit the kennel on the potty side, especially if the dog is potty trained and doesn't use the potty side of their kennel anyway. Whenever a kennel has a dog in it, it must be locked. This is for everyone's safety, as we may have dogs available for adoption who do not like other dogs, are uncomfortable with children, or are afraid of new people. We do not want the general public being able to open kennel doors on their own. If you are working with dogs and have not yet attended matchmaker training, please do not let visitors in with a dog. Grab a kennel attendant or a matchmaker to help them. Of course, it's one thing to show entering and exiting empty kennels, and another task entirely to get in and out when you have an excited dog to deal with. When it comes to getting into a kennel with an actual dog, it's a lot harder than in our previous videos. Here are the 2 easiest ways to enter a kennel. 1. Toss treats to the other side of the kennel in order to distract the dog. While they are distracted, enter as quickly as possible. 2. Only open the door as much as needed so you can block the dog from escaping with your body. In this video, we're using a treat to distract the dog. Remember to unlock the lock before tossing any treats so that you're ready to enter the kennel as soon as the dog is distracted. While Maverick wasn't totally distracted by the treats, that doesn't matter. It still gave this volunteer enough time to enter his kennel unobstructed. You can also use your body to block the dog from escaping. Only open the door wide enough to squeeze in and use your legs and hips to block. Pro tip, if you can get your hand under the dog's chin, cupping their neck in your palm, you can much more easily hold them back as you enter, just like the volunteer in this video does with Porco. Of course, getting into the kennel is one thing. Getting out can be a completely different story. The first 2 tips are easy. We just covered them in the previous slides. But don't worry, I have videos for exiting the kennels using treats and body blocking, as well as 3 more tips. If the dog isn't interested in treats and body blocking them is proving difficult, you can call out to a staff member or another volunteer to assist you in escaping. They could call the dog to the other side of the kennel and distract them while you make your escape. If needed, they could shut the guillotine door. You could also ask them to sit or wait before leaving. This probably won't work, but some dogs could listen, especially if they've had prior training. Lastly, if you've been walking the dog and there's no one around to help you, you can go ahead and put the dog back on leash and go find a volunteer or a kennel attendant. If you know there are other volunteers walking dogs, you can bring the dog to the courtyard and wait for a volunteer to return. Please do not bring a dog to the cat adoption floor or to the front desk unless you have tried absolutely everything else. In this first video, this volunteer uses treats to distract Maverick while she makes her escape. Be sure to always lock every dog kennel behind you.
There you go. Got a couple treats for you.
The volunteer who body blocked and held Porco back to enter his kennel is going to do the same thing when leaving him. If you didn't use treats when leaving a dog's kennel, please be sure to give them one when you leave. This can show them that people leaving isn't always a bad thing because they get something tasty when it happens.
There you go. There's a treat. Look at, there's a treat. Look at, there's a treat. Oh.
Asking for help is never a bad thing. Having another volunteer to distract the dog, and maybe even shut the guillotine door, can help you leave the kennel more easily.
Here, buddy. Come here.
To close the guillotine door, simply unhook the hook and guide the door down. Never let go or let the door slam to the ground. This is detrimental for the dogs in our care. To open, grab the hook and pull it down until you've achieved your desired opening. Then securely hook it to one of the kennel bars. Of course, it's not always going to go smoothly. As demonstrated in this next video, some dogs simply want out, and they will throw their whole body weight into escaping, no matter what you try. Due to this volunteer's quick thinking, Comet didn't actually end up escaping. Right at the end of this video, her arm was under his stomach, and she lifted his back legs up and walked him in sort of a wheelbarrow position back into his kennel. Perfect. This concludes our training video specifically on entering and exiting the kennels on the dog adoption floor. I hope you learned some new tips and tricks for working with the dogs. If you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to reach out to the volunteer coordinator. Take care, and we'll see you in the next training video.